Welcome to the Leader Impact podcast. We are a community of leaders with a network in over 350 cities around the world, dedicated to optimizing our personal, professional, and spiritual lives to have impact. This show is where we have a chance to listen and engage with leaders who are living this out. We love talking with leaders, so if you have any questions, comments, or suggestions to make the show even better, please let us know. The best way to stay connected in Canada is through our newsletter at leaderimpact.ca or on social at LeaderImpact. If you're listening from outside of Canada, check out our website at leaderimpact.com. I'm your host, Lisa Peters, and our guest today is Joe Duggar. Joe is the visionary CEO and founder of One Life Direct Care in Searcy, Arkansas, in the United States. He is a board certified in family practice and has an interest in sports medicine and obesity medicine. Joe is transforming the face of employer-focused healthcare. His groundbreaking approach has enabled countless businesses to deliver immediate, personalized healthcare to their employees. Joe's proficiency lies in aiding organizations grappling with the dual task of attracting premier talent and providing affordable, competitive healthcare benefits. He strongly believes that and demonstrates that investment in superior healthcare doesn't have to burden the corporate purse. His strategy strives to foster healthier, happier employees, boosting profitability. Joe is a follower of Jesus and lives and walks daily by the power, love, grace, and truth of the Spirit living in him. He is married to his wife, Angie, and has 4 children. Welcome to the show, Joe.
Thank you, Lisa. I'm glad to be here.
Oh, it is nice to meet you. You know, I tried, as I was saying earlier before we turned the go button on, you're a hard guy to find on anywhere else on social media. You have your websites, but you must be just clearly a good guy because I couldn't find anything out about you. It is nice to meet you.
Yeah. Oh, thank you. Likewise. I'm just not out there, I guess.
You're clearly too busy, Joe.
That may be a fact.
So I know I'm going to assume that in Canada we have an incredible physician shortage, and I know it's not. Is this something that's common in the United States? Common everywhere?
It is. Yes. I mean, we have a lot of mid-level providers as well, PAs and nurse practitioners. Yes, but it still isn't enough to meet the need. So That's one of the challenges that our company really embraces is, how do we, use everything, infrastructure that's already there and even AI to assist us in really trying to meet the needs that are out there for medical care.
Yeah. Good. All right. Well, we'll start with a few of our questions. We definitely want to find out more about your professional story and how you got to where you are today. And if you have a couple of snapshots that were pivotal in the turning points along that journey.
Well, I do. My father had always encouraged me to be a physician, and I don't really know all the reasons for that. I think my father passed in 2014, and looking back, I think that I don't even think he recognized it, but I think he had what I would call a prophetic gift, where he could see things in other people. And so I remember him telling me when I was young that I should consider being a medical doctor. And I remember thinking, that's a crazy idea. I have no desire to be a medical doctor. And so I had other desires to, be a scientist, or at one time I thought I wanted to be an architect. And so I was in college. I was actually a pre-med student, but it was because I was going towards full-time research. And so I spent a summer in South Carolina doing that. And that was right before my senior year of college. And I remember one of the guys that was presenting there was a lifetime, scientist, one of our mentors for the summer. And he was one of the world's experts on the stride lengths of lizards. And he was giving a presentation one day. And most everybody in the room was an undergraduate still in college. And they were just dialed in, listening to this guy. And I just remember thinking, who cares? I mean, this guy has spent his life researching how long of a step a certain species of lizard takes. And I'm just going,
wow,
what am I doing here? I'm in the wrong place. And in the process of that summer, I realized, really that was not what I wanted to do. And I wanted to be directly involved in the lives of people, having an impact, developing relationships and having meaningful, my life's work needs to be something bigger than measuring how far a lizard steps. So anyway, that was definitely a turning point. And then I took the MCAT my senior year and went on to medical school. And then in medical school and in residency, realized what an opportunity I had to just bring bring the kingdom of God into people's lives, to and I was always inspired, even when I was young, by the stories of healing when Jesus would heal people. Um, I just love those stories, and I'd read them repetitively just to get every detail. And so that all started to really come back to me as I was beginning to learn the practice of medicine, and so really feeling some fulfillment even at an early age in the beginnings of my medical practice, and realizing then that my dad was he was seeing something that I didn't see, and was very thankful for that.
Yeah. Well, number one, lizards don't love you back.
Right.
Maybe they do. I don't know. And a question would be, did you grow up in a family of physicians? Was your dad a doctor? Was there anyone around you?
No, really not. My parents were both really from very, very poor families. So, farming families, Depression era farmers. And I think I know my mom's family they were sharecroppers. And so, they were like migrant workers back in the 20s and 30s. And and then my dad's side, pretty similar backgrounds. And so I think I was the first physician in our family. I know on my dad's side that was the case. And so his mom was always just very quick to introduce me to her friends as, oh, this is our family, this is our doctor in the family. And so, yeah, I think I was really the only one. My dad was a professor in the university here where I live. So he taught there for 45 years.
Oh, well, your parents, they sound very proud of you. Your mother's introduction of you.
Yes, yes.
That's good. Good. I was wondering if you can give us your best principle of success, and if you had a story that would illustrate that.
Well, I would say that one of the things that has always been a guiding principle for me was, and I guess when people would ask me, in youth group and church when I was little, what's your favorite Bible verse? You started getting those questions a lot in junior high and high school, and so over time I realized that Romans 12:1 was always one of those verses, and so finding out what God's will is for my life and seeking that will. But and even I think the Bible app verse of the day today was from Proverbs, and it's commit to the Lord whatever you do, and He'll establish your plans. And so I think that guiding principle for me has always been there. The Word has always been in me from the time I was little because of the heritage that my parents passed on to me. And as an adult now, looking back, I see my faith became my own at a very young age. And I knew God was real. I knew Jesus was, the most historically accounted for figure in the history of the world, and I knew He was God's Son. I've always known that. I've never doubted that, and I knew the Bible was His Word. So I just really, at a young age, I would read through the Bible a lot. And I grew up in a church that it was a good church, a lot of good relationships. There was definitely some hyper religious type of people and some, um, I don't want to say Pharisees, but I think you have this type of mindset in probably most churches. But I got the good out of that, and I think one of the things, and I don't think it was legalism, but I think it could turn into that. But for me, it was very well driven into me that I needed to know the Word and be in the Word, and so I did read the Bible through yearly a lot when I was growing up. So that the times that I have not succeeded, I can look back and see that I wasn't asking God for guidance. I wasn't listening to the Holy Spirit when there were clear red flags that I should not proceed or I should change course. And so I don't have just one story of success, but I can tell you my best success is my wife and my family. Um, and I was very prayerful about who I was to marry. And my wife is actually 6 years younger than me. So when we started dating, it was somewhat scandalous because I was 22 and she was 16. And so I knew her family very well, but and I had a good relationship with all of them. Her older brother and I played football together in college, and so I actually, this is a story that all of our inner circle knows, but I was on a bus trip to a football game, and I was actually a grad assist that year. And Nick, Angie, my wife's brother, we were really good friends. He was sitting on the bus with me, asking me about who I was dating, and the usual conversations. And I said, "Oh, I'm not really dating anyone. Not really wanting to date. I just want to, I'm not necessarily just trying to find a wife, but I'm just not really wanting to just date to date. And anyway, he mentioned that his sister was available, and I said, because she didn't have a boyfriend, but this was not Angie. This was Nick. Is one of she's one of five children, so Nick is the oldest, and the other four are girls. So this was Angie's older sister, my wife's older sister,
Mhm.
and Nick encouraged me to ask her out on a date. And I said, "Oh, I can't do that. I said, I love your family. Your sisters are all great, but there's just too much of an age gap." But then I said, "But if I was going to ask out one of your sisters, I would ask out Angie." He was actually a little younger than Marcy. And Nick got very excited. And he said, "Oh, you should do that." And so anyway, the idea grew on me. And after a few weeks, I asked her father's permission secretly. And so he gave me his permission, which I look back and go, I don't know that I would give any guy permission to date my 16-year-old daughter, especially if he's 22. But we had a good relationship, and he trusted me. And the whole family knew about it except for Angie, and so they all knew that I had asked permission to ask her out, and so they're just really having a hard time keeping it secret, but they did until I called her and asked her out. So that was how we started. But that decision was one that God led me in, and there's no doubt and I think generations will be, we'll know the story you know down the road, but generations are going to be blessed by that decision for sure.
Oh, that's a great way to end that. Your decision will be blessed. I love that. Yeah, that God's will be done. It's a good. That is a great principle of success. I wrote that one down. We're going to switch over to failures and failures and mistakes. I think we all know we probably learn more from a failing or a mistake, and more than from our successes. So I'm wondering if you can share a failing or a mistake and what you learned from it.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I have um, always tried to be as aware as I can be of opportunities around me. So, as an entrepreneur and as a business owner, that has been a blessing and a curse, I would say. I mean, sometimes I allow too much the distraction of, oh, this looks like a good opportunity, and I will dive into it without really looking at or listening to or prayerfully considering the entire situation. So several different business partnerships, I'm using that term loosely, but relationships, collaborative agreements have not gone well in the past, and have been um, destructive to some extent with loss of financially and even relationally. And I can look back and see clearly that those were times when I did not uh, really listen or ask for counsel. And so, I mean, God is always speaking, and for me, sometimes even in dreams, I will be able to. I mean, He will show me things, and I don't always understand them, um, but sometimes He's pretty clear, and I just didn't listen. So, but specifically, I know business relationships and partnerships have been uh, bad decisions that I made. And looking back, even early into those relationships, I would see red flags. I would see um, things that needed to be addressed, and I wouldn't address them, or I wouldn't step courageously and boldly up to just, be be clear, but also and be you know assertive about what what needs to change, or how we can navigate a
Yeah.
tough situation.
We put our wants and what we want ahead of, um, as you said in Romans 12:1, our God's will for us.
Hmm.
We I have been caught telling God what I want, and I think He just like, yeah, no. And you talked, when you make a mistake, or and I call it a brick. I get hit. God just throws me a brick. It's like, you weren't listening. I tried to whisper to you. I tried to show you. I tried, and then I get hit with something. It's not literally a brick, but you just
Right.
I, I, I put my wants ahead of maybe what God wanted for me. So
Right. Yeah, I think and like you said, the learning process there, if we'll take the lesson and grow from it, can really be beneficial. One of the dreams that I had it was just a very brief, but it was a vivid dream. And I was sitting in a circle of friends at a table, and I was scratching under my chin, and I noticed there was a sore or something there. And that's one of the things when I wake up, and I haven't had a dream like this in quite a while, but if it was a very vivid dream and it just had just really provoked my thoughts, and I woke up, I would write them down and then pray about them and see if there was anything that was discerning from those. But this one was a very vivid dream, and I had a small sore, and I kind of did, just touched it, and this almost like a tumor came out from my chin, and it was just, you know, I was amazed, and kind of thought, what is this, But everybody around the table was just talking, and no one even noticed, and that was the extent of the dream. And so I understood that there was God was showing there was something in me that He wanted me to recognize that didn't need to be there. It was not good. It was something that I needed to take out. And so I just and prayerfully over the course of weeks tried to understand that dream, and I did. It was basically God revealed to me, this is your need for approval. This is you seeking the approval of others, and that's what this sin is. This thing that you just need to get rid of. And as I got as I got older and went through some of these relationships in business, I realized, because I'd written down this dream, that the people at that table were actually people that I had bad business relationships with. And God was basically showing me that back then, but I didn't understand it and I didn't listen. But I was too concerned about what they thought about me and how I appeared in those relationships to address the things that were coming up as we were going into a business together that I should have addressed. And it was because I didn't want to lose face, so to speak. I didn't want to, you know, lose their approval and affirmation because of something that was not what they wanted to hear.
yeah, great story. Thank you for sharing. We we This failure to listen. I'm hearing, the failure to listen to God's word. It slips in your sleep. It slips. He's around us. He's watching over us. I appreciate the story. Um, at Leader Impact, we want to grow personally, professionally, and spiritually for increasing impact. And you have shared some incredible stories so far. Would you be willing to share an example of how the spiritual makes a practical impact in your life as a leader?
Yes, yes. I'm 55 years old now, and it's amazing how fast I got here. But um, there's our kids we're close to empty nest stage now. So my youngest is a freshman in college, and we have four kids. My oldest is finishing up his master's. My kids are all fairly close together in age. So my wife has always been so intentional about, let's family time and let's really prioritize that. And that's been such a blessing for all of us. But in the last several years, I just have been impacted by how brief of a time we have with our children, and really just the whole lifespan is so brief. So I've been a lot more deliberate about every day and how I approach the day. So I'm really I have an inner circle, which is mostly my kids, my wife, my employees, but I'll usually send out a scripture every morning. I'll spend a little time in the Word, and then sometimes it's the Bible app verse of the day. But and just the importance of washing them with the Word, and washing myself with the Word, renewing my mind to God's reality in my life. And I can't separate the spiritual, but I just think about the ripple effect. Uh, even when I was younger, I remember sitting in class and seeing another student that I knew was struggling. Um, just maybe they were really shy and just couldn't connect very well with people, and I could see the way they were looking at everybody, and I could feel this empathy for them. But I just remember thinking, even just saying something to them, like, "Hey, how's it going?" or "Did you do your homework?" It didn't matter. Like, there was this desire to just have a brief conversation, because I knew there was a ripple from that. There was going to be something good that could come from that, and it was going to help that person engage, in the world around them, and see that they had value, and that someone else cared enough to talk to them. So it's just, to me, as I've gotten older, the spiritual is, we're mind, body, and spirit, but I think the spirit is where everything really has the most significance and definitely the most permanence. And so, when Jesus talks about laying up treasures in heaven, I really think that comes down to relationship, and what we do and what we say, and how it impacts people is really the focus. And so I always think about the ripple effect and what it's going to do, even generationally. But I think that's where the spiritual, to me, is most relevant, is because we don't see it, necessarily, but we know it's there, and then we do see it over time as it, as our parents or grandparents pass, and we understand what they've left us and what they've done. We can recognize the importance of what's happened
Yeah.
in the spiritual realm.
Yeah. Um, Many times in my care group, we talk about, we've talked about this, and I use the word, I drip on people. I much prefer ripple effect. Drip. It's like, we just drip on people. It's like, if they can see that I'm a Christian, or in my language, in my actions. But yeah, I'm going to use ripple effect, changing my words.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, I think it's hard to understand in some ways, but and we do compartmentalize into the physical and the emotional and the spiritual, but I think we're all those wrapped in one. We've got mind, body, spirit, and so a lot of what's happened for us, in Christ, is in the spiritual realm. And when we're born again, it's a instant, um, phenomenon. But So I think in the spirit, that work is complete. We're this new creation. We're perfect. God sees us in the spirit as perfect, but the mind and the body still are not. So Paul says in Ephesians 1, we're purchased but not redeemed yet. So I think that part of us is the part that needs the spiritual realm to continually renew our minds and renew our bodies even to the reality of Christ in us.
Yeah. I wanted to ask you about you're the founder of One Life Direct Care, and when I do find you're professional, everything. It's not that the website is Christian; it's in the name of the company. For me, and I'm thinking this is clear. This is done intentionally, and because everything I find out about you is very empowering. All the titles, not the titles, the company names that you're involved with, very intentional.
Yes.
Yeah. All right. So Leader Impact is dedicated to leaders having a lasting impact. So as you continue to move through your own journey, have you considered what you want your faith legacy to be when you leave this world?
I've considered it a lot more in recent years, for sure. Yeah, I really, I think when I have a strong desire to go into something or do something, especially knowing that it's going to take everything uh, as far as resource to do those things, um, I just weigh out. I can't always see the end at the beginning, but I just weigh out what is the impact and what I want the legacy to be, what I want my life's work to be about. And I can have an opinion on that, but what will people say, you know, and what will my grandchildren say? So um, I want them to, I want them to say that they saw Jesus, they saw His love, His grace. That's that's really the the biggest desire that I have, and that's really pretty simple. But it's
Right.
real,
Yeah,
and
it is.
so yeah. That's I haven't really had to think that deeply about it in a while, but that's it's good to reflect on.
It is. And I think sometimes we um, if it's a business podcast, we're thinking for big answers, and it's not big. It's not hard to sometimes not that it's not hard. What am I thinking of? Um, it's not as simple as you say it is, um, but it's the truth, and it's yeah. We try to come up with such big answers sometimes, really smart answers. Anyway, my final question for you, Joe, is what brings you the greatest joy?
Yes, I so I've always been more fulfilled in the practice of medicine when I see people come off of their medicine for diabetes or their medicine for high blood pressure, and to just be empowered to um, realize that they can make the lifestyle changes and they can do some things that will have a huge impact on their health and maybe kind of even change their paradigm of how they're thinking about their destiny, because some people just will sort of think, oh well, my parents or my dad was had a heart attack when he was 50, so that's going to happen to me. And so I love to see that paradigm shift. And the greatest really is when people understand and realize that Jesus is their healer. And even if it's through medicine or surgery or whatever, if they can encounter Jesus, and this might be people who are Christians their whole life, but they may not have ever met Jesus as their healer. And I think He demonstrates that so clearly in the Gospels. It's just like, if you want to see the Father, just look at me. And He's healing them of everything that they come with. And so I love to see that happen. I've gotten to see that happen some, and it's awesome when it happens in an instant. Sometimes it happens over time, but it's just, I can see why Jesus said, "This is my food." When his followers are trying to get Him to eat something, He's like, "You don't understand. I've got this bread. This is my food. It's doing the will of my Father." Which He was talking specifically, I think, about healing and turning people's lives around. So That's to me the greatest joy for sure.
Thank you for sharing. You know, uh, when I listen to you, and I know that you are a family doctor with your specialties in, I think, obesity and sports medicine. Do you take your faith into your work? That is at Leader Impact. That's one of our biggest. We are trying to integrate. When you go to work, sometimes you're judged, right? People people don't want to hear it, and I when I asked you about the name of your company, you talk about the culture. You send out messages every morning, from the Bible. Uh, it's inspiring, and not everybody's like that. Some workplaces. How did you set this up?
Well, I try and be discerning about what to say and how to say it, and I want people to be drawn to Jesus. And so um, sometimes if you say on your website or you say on your sign, Christians can come here in so many words, then that means everybody else doesn't necessarily want to come or feel welcome. And I don't want to do that. So I think there's a time when people are ready to receive the good news and know that Jesus loves them and that he wants to have a relationship with them. And and we don't always know when that's going to be, but um, I have worked for employers before where I was reprimanded for talking about Jesus too much, and these were Christian people that were saying, you know, that I think I had prayed with a patient maybe, and I don't know, I remember all the details of it, but anyway, I mean, I took that as you know the reprimand that it was, but at the same time, I also felt like that this is not going to stop me. I'm not going to stop talking about him or telling people about him, but I do want to do it in a way that's most effective and has the greatest potential to plant those seeds of truth. And so, and now that I own my own business, I have more of an opportunity to create the culture and help to facilitate that. And I see that as part of my role as a leader in our business to, um, whatever they want to do with it is their decision, but I'm going to speak truth and I'm going to do it in a loving way. And, well, if we disagree, that's okay. I'm not going to hate them and I'm not going to respond in a way that's, you know, going to turn them off to, because there may be a chance for them
Yeah.
to come around to those realities at some point.
Yeah. Oh, thanks for taking the time to answer that question. Listening to you, I just I think there's a lot of people listening, thinking, how do I do this? And at Leader Impact, we're marketplace leaders who integrate our personal, professional, and spiritual. We all come together, and to have the ripple effect, not drip, but have the ripple effect. So you are definitely having the ripple effect. I want to thank you for just joining us for the last half hour. I just appreciate your time. You are a busy guy, and just taking these last 30 minutes, I loved it. You changed a little bit of me, and I know that our viewers, you changed a little bit of them. So thank you for being a ripple effect today.
Thanks, Lisa. I appreciate you having me on your show.
You're welcome. And now, if anybody wants to find you, engage with you, anything, social media or a website, what would be the best way to find you?
Well, I am on LinkedIn. I don't have as much knowledge on my social media. Someone doing that for me, but I'm on LinkedIn. Joseph is my full first name, Joseph Duggar, and it's Dugger. My website for the company is One Life Direct, so it's onelifedirect.org, and so that's the easiest way to reach me.
All right, good. Well, thank you again. It was a great half hour. Thank you.
Yes, you're welcome.
All right.
Enjoyed it.
All right. Well, if you're part of Leader Impact, you can always discuss or share this podcast with your group. And if you are not yet part of Leader Impact and would like to find out more and grow your leadership, find our podcast page on our website at leaderimpact.ca or check out our free leadership assessment. You will also find on our webpage Chapter 1 of Braden Douglas's book, Becoming a Leader of Impact. You can also check out groups available in Canada at leaderimpact.ca, or if you're listening from anywhere else in the world, check out leaderimpact.com or get in touch with us by email, info@leaderimpact.ca, and we will connect you. And if you like this podcast, please leave us a comment, give us a rating or a review. This will help other global leaders find our podcast. Thank you for engaging with us, and remember, impact starts with you.